Call the meeting to order. And please stand for the prayer. Dear God, today as this session opens, we pray that your presence will be before us and everyone who serves in the decision-making process of our city. We pray for direction which will lead our city to be strong and unified. May we continue the legacy of our founders. May we be granted this day the wisdom to make decisions which will be for the good of our city. We also pray for your special blessing on all those who are working to transform our city to make it a better place to live and work. Amen. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilor Ron Mercia.
Present.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Here.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Here.
Councilor Ramirez.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Caulfield.
Here.
Councilor Donahue.
Here.
Councilor Elliott. Mayor Martin.
Here.
8 present, 1 absent.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before we begin the council meeting this evening, I'd like to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for 2 special people. The first one being, in my opinion, a saint, the Mother Teresa of Lowell, Sister Willie, or as her official name reads, Sister William Julie Hurley, SND. 51 years a Sister of Notre Dame. Everywhere she went, she touched people's lives in a miraculous way. Sister Willie was the founder of Julie House in Lowell, a residence for homeless people living with HIV/AIDS. She was a remarkable representative of the Lord, and she will be truly missed. And my second request is to offer a moment of silence in darkened chambers for a gentleman who did not reside in this city, but that didn't stop him from giving to great causes in the city, and I feel that he should be remembered. John Petrowski, or Ski as we all called him, from Billerica, was a remarkable man who served his country in the Navy during the Vietnam War. Ski was a special friend with RARA, Retarded Adult Rehabilitation Association, and other adults with special needs, having carnivals, bands, swimming, games, and prizes at his home for them. He had hosted the All-American baseball players from Texas, Adam Frey, Houston O'Connor, and Chris Ashman, who was killed in a car accident in Texas, and his number 12 was retired. When the call went out in this city for a new senior center, the Rialto Bowlers came forward to offer challenges with this council. They challenged this council. We remember how poorly we all did, and the state legislators were asked to pick up the challenge as well to raise money for the senior center. Of course, they lost as well. Ski played a big part in getting involved with his wife, Pat, to ensure that we had a success, and we did. Sometimes there are those who do not live in this city who go above and beyond to make Lowell a nice place to be in. Ski was one of those people where location didn't matter, but the people did. I will truly miss him as a friend and as a good humanitarian. Ski was 64, and he leaves behind his mother, Josephine, his beloved wife, Patricia, 3 brothers and 6 sisters. I'm honored to have presented this for a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you. We could please rise in a moment of silence in their memory. May they rest in peace. First item on the agenda this evening is approval of the minutes from the June 26th meeting. Motion to approve by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Ramirez. Any discussion or questions or comments on the minutes? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved. Under the city manager's portion of the agenda, there are several communications in response to council motions and requests. Any questions or comments on any of those items? Hearing none, motion to approve and place on file by Councilor Ramirez, seconded by Councilor Milanazzo. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The responses are approved and placed on file. We have 2 requests for out-of-state travel, one in the police department from Ken LaValle, Acting Superintendent of Police, to send a captain to attend a conference in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, September 10th through September 14th. The funds to come from the police training account. And another from Frank Singleton, Health Director, to send one public health nurse manager to a conference Manchester, New Hampshire, August 13th and 14th. Funds come from the CDC Bioterrorism and Influenza Public Health Grant. No cost to the City of Lowell. Any objection to considering both items together? No. Motion to approve by Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Milonazo. A roll call, please.
Counselor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Counselor Milonazo.
Yes.
Counselor Ramirez.
Yes.
Counselor Broderick.
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Caulfield. Counselor Donahue.
Yes.
Counselor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. The communications or travel requests are approved. Next item is a communication from the city manager accepting the resignation of Michael Geary from the License Commission. Dear Mr. Geary, this letter acknowledges receipt of your letter dated June 8, 2007, in which you resigned from the License Commission. Your resignation is accepted. I am filing your resignation and this acceptance thereof with the city clerk as required by law, and I'm also forwarding copies as a communication to the city council. The city of Lowell appreciates your years of service as a member of the License Commission, and on its behalf, I extend thanks. Very truly yours, Bernard F. Lynch, City Manager. A motion to accept the communication by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Elliott. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The communication is accepted. Next item, we have an appropriation transfer. Manager's recommendation to transfer the amount of $1,118,739.34 to various accounts, and the same amount from various accounts. A second reading by title, an appropriation transfer in the amount of $1,118,739.34 to various accounts from various accounts. It's the request of the council.
Just,
Councilor Caulfield.
Just to clarify, especially the viewers at home, this is a year-end transfer to more or less balance the books and so forth. It's not that we're transferring money out of one department to another. It's just to balance the budget. We've done this under other administrations, and it's a practice.
That's true. We want to enter the next fiscal year with a clean slate, and we're just taking money from where we have it in the budget right now and funding deficits that exist so that we can start the new year fresh.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Thank you very much. I understand where it's going, because where it's going is where the deficits are. My question is, kind of three of them. We have $96,000 in salaries for the law department, permanent, that we're able to transfer out of there. Does that mean that that's $96,000 that was not used for salaries and therefore is in excess?
That's correct. Those essentially were vacancies, positions that were not filled during the year.
And on the court judgments, we had budgeted an amount that didn't require $306,000. In other words, we had $306,000 extra in the court judgments.
Actually, I tread on thin water. I hate to talk specifically about court judgments. I'd leave that to the
It's a
city
thin ice,
solicitor.
by the way.
Well, the city solicitor will answer
My
that.
question is, if the $306,000 is extra money that we didn't use for court judgments, is that my understanding of this?
We had an excess between court judgments and claims general. We had an excess of, in excess of $400,000.
Would that be because some of the cases haven't been settled?
It's for a variety of
Still
reasons.
pending?
Yes, in the
Okay.
past 4 years, we've probably had an excess of about $800,000.
Okay, so the possibility exists, however, that if those judgments come forward in fiscal '08,
Not during the year.
that money
think it's-
will have to be generated somehow, some way, or it's
Right,
already in the budget.
we have this year's appropriation, which hopefully will be enough, but
Okay.
there may indeed be a year,
Yeah.
such as this coming year, where all of a sudden we exceed the appropriation. We've had great success in remaining well within our budget, in fact,
Okay.
coming up with a surplus each and every year. But there's no guarantees.
And I guess the last question is the the health department had an extra $94,000 from salaries permanent that was in excess of what they needed. Again, is that the same situation as the prior?
That is the same
explanation?
situation. Now, they have a much larger staff, and in normal turnover and normal vacancies during the year, that
So
94.
not filling positions fast is a benefit to the city in terms of the amount that the budget.
It's always a trade-off. You obviously have operational issues, and you want to take care of them and fully
And that gets
staff.
offset by the accounts that are in deficit, which is what we're doing tonight.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Donahue?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This time of year, we always start asking the question, so I'll ask it, Mr. Moses. Do you know when you expect to close the books for fiscal year, this past fiscal year?
We're running the final warrant next year, next week. Essentially, then the books will be closed. There may be audit adjustments and small adjustments afterward, but operationally, we won't be accepting any money and spending any money from those accounts.
And so, and this is all related to when we can set a tax rate and all those kinds of things that flow together. Is that?
It will affect, for instance, when we're able to certify our free cash and get all of that approved by the state, so that then that can go towards the overall reconciliation for fiscal year '08.
And I know we've talked about potential free cash or lack thereof. It's still too early to say whether there'll be free cash. Is that correct?
It is very early at this point. I would say we'd have to wait a bit longer, keeping in mind that we have the negative $2 million to start from, which just pulling ourselves out of that hole is our first step.
Right. Thank you.
Councilor Elliott?
Can I just ask about the snow and ice? I see that we're trying to transfer to close some of those accounts. Will that satisfy our snow and ice deficit, this transfer, or are we still going to carry deficit into the recap sheet?
We're still carrying a substantial deficit. I actually went through the accounts and swept as much as I possibly could to reduce that snow and ice deficit, which we have to raise out of next year's tax levy.
Right.
And what I'm trying to do is reduce the pressure on next year's tax levy.
Exactly, that was my question. Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion on the transfer? Roll call.
Councilor Arman Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes. 9 yeas, the transfer is approved. The next item is a vote authorizing the city manager on behalf of the city of Lowell to accept a gift from the Friends of Shed Park of $100,000 for use by the Parks and Recreation Department. I believe there are some representatives from the Friends of Shed Park here. Ask them to come forward, and I will at first read the vote. Whereas the Friends of Shed Park desire to donate $100,000 to the city of Lowell to assist in the construction of a water park at Shed Park, whereas the city desires to accept the gift of said sum to be utilized to assist in the construction of a water park at Shed Park, now therefore be it voted that the city manager be and hereby is authorized in the name of the city to accept a gift from the Friends of Shed Park of $100,000 for use by the Parks and Recreation Department to assist in the construction of a water park at Shed Park, all pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A. Be it further voted that we, the members of the City Council of the City of Lowell, jointly and severally do hereby commend and officially thank the Friends of Shed Park for their generosity displayed in donating the aforesaid gift to the City of Lowell for use by the Parks and Recreation Department. Second reading by title, a vote authorizing the city manager to, on behalf of the City of Lowell, accept a gift from the Friends of Shed Park of $100,000 for use by the Parks and Recreation Department. And I would recognize Mr. Crane and then Mr. Farden if you wanted to speak on behalf of the organization.
Thank you. Mayor Martin, Manager Lynch, members of the council, on behalf of the Friends of Shed Park, We would like to thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be here tonight. And more importantly, we would like to thank you for all of your help and support in getting us to the point where we could be here tonight and make this presentation. The manager's support of this project has been evident since before his first day in office, and we are extremely grateful for that. The administration has been a wonderful partner, and we could not have done it without them, especially the efforts of the Planning Department and the Parks Department. And the council has also been extremely supportive, both through some councilors' participation in our Dancing with the Local Stars and their attendance at some of our events. So we are very grateful for that support as well. And we are all extremely proud of this moment, and we look very much forward to the groundbreaking on July 24th and playing on the new equipment sometime this fall. With that, I'd like to turn over to Rob Farden.
Thank you. Thank you again for having us. This really is a pretty remarkable night for us, the Friends of Shed Park, and it's really a culmination of a fantastic public and private partnership. As Stephen mentioned, we're very appreciative of the City Council, whether you participated with your dancing shoes, such as Mayor Martin did, such as Councilor Donahue, such as Rita Mercier, a reigning champion, I might add. A little round of applause. Or whether you participated in your swim trunks getting dunked, such as Councilor Broderick and Councilor Ramirez, or whether you did participate, such as Councilor Ramirez and Councilor Caulfield, we certainly appreciate it. We certainly have to ring out a call and tip our hats to the state delegates as well. They continue to work wonders for the city of Lowell. They certainly worked wonders for the Friends of Shed Park, also helping to bring $100,000 to the table, another appropriation which certainly helped us. And before we do go ahead and present what we have, this wonderful check here, I'm going to use the old cliche that behind every good man there's a good woman. It's a cliche that doesn't do justice, because in this case, behind every good man there are actually a dozen good women. Not all are here tonight, but I'd certainly ask them to come on up and participate in this. Now, since we haven't done this before, I don't necessarily know proper protocol, but we'd certainly have this check that we'd like to present to the mayor and to whoever else that would certainly like to come up and accept it from us. And
Sure.
I don't know what I do if I just... I'll just flip it right side up that way. This, thank you very much.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Let me first say, on behalf of the city, that we are so grateful to the work that you folks have done in such a short time, really only in a little more than, or maybe a little less than 2 years, to raise this sum of money, and really not only to raise the money, but to bring the level of enthusiasm that you've had to the various events that you've conducted, whether it be the Dancing with the Local Stars or the world's biggest squirt gun fight or some of the other really fun things that you've done. You've created a lot of energy, and you've been great partners already to the city. As you mentioned, the state delegation has come through with some funding for this project. There are city funds in this project, and now there are citizen funds in this project. And we couldn't have done it without you. We're grateful for all the work you've done. We just hope you could do a little better job with the weather. Councilor Donahue, and then Councilor Caulfield.
I just want to join in what you've just said, Mr. Mayor. I think the group of individuals really have epitomized the partnership here in the city of Lowell. And not only have they raised this money, but, as you've said, the public, the private partnership, but they did it in such a way that really kind of gave everybody enthusiasm and vitality and brought life back to the field house. I don't think on the night of Dancing with the Stars last year or this year, when Councilor Mercier was the champion a year ago, it I think gave everybody, the hundreds of people in attendance, a new appreciation for community, for neighborhoods, for partnership, and it's all going to benefit the young families of the city. And I just can't say enough about the very hard work that they've all done in the most wonderful way. So we are very, very grateful for everything they've done, and are very proud to represent the city of Lowell. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to thank everyone that was involved with this great fundraiser. And what's very unique about Lowell is the people. The people who have the ability to roll up their sleeves and make it happen. And from Belvedere to South Lowell to Pawtuckaville to the Highlands, everywhere in the city, people all have that ability, and the people in Belvedere showed it tonight with that outstanding check that will benefit the youngsters for decades to come. And the entire council and the people of this city, thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Councilor Rita Mercier?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are many choices in life. You can stay home and complain about the lack of equipment or recreation in a particular park, or you could get out and do something about it. And that's what all of those people here this evening did. It isn't easy to give of your time. Your time is very precious. These people didn't complain. They went out, they raised money, they did something about it. There'll be a goal set, and we will see the fruition of this in July 24th, and later on in the fall. I'm so very proud, along with my colleagues, to say thank you very much. Regular, ordinary citizens, and if we could do this all over the city, wouldn't that reduce our budget and our tax rate, don't you think? So you are a fine example. You're a credit to the city, and that's what makes this city so great. It's people like you, regular citizens, taxpayers, that are doing something to make this a better place for our children. Thank you very much. We love you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Councilor Milanazzo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too just want to say thank you. And I was able to attend the first year where actually Councilor Rita Mercier actually won Dancing with the Stars. Unfortunately, this year I was out of the country and was not there, but my wife and I tried to still support the event. But I also want to recognize the band that they had each year, the local band with, I think it was Leo Sheridan, John McQuaid, and Rich Sarmento. They just did a wonderful, wonderful job, and I know that they donated their time. And again, everybody had fun, and we were able to raise, they were able to raise money for a very worthwhile cause. So I too want to say thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also want to say thank you. I attended and saw Councilor Mercier win and got dunked. I think I set the record for the in the dunk tank. I don't know if that's a good thing. But as much as the money is very important, I think Councilor Donahue also touched it, is that it brought a sense of community and families back to the park that I hope we will see continue once the park is done. It's nice to bring your family down and be with other families in the area and in the city. So it's a great community effort, and hopefully will be a community resource that will continue to bring everybody together, because it was just such a great sense of leadership from the board of the Friends of Shed Park, but also participation. The participation level was just incredible, and hopefully that will continue in the use. But again, thank you very much.
All right, any further discussion? Roll call on the motion to accept the gift.
Councilor Armin Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia.
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the gift is accepted. Thank you all very much. We move to the public hearing. The first public hearing is an ordinance amending the taxi livery ordinance of the superintendent of police, amending the taxi livery ordinance and superintendent of police rules and regulations pertaining to taxi and delivery. So motion to waive the full second reading by Councilor Elliott, second by Councilor Donahue. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The full second reading is waived. We will open the public hearing for those wishing to speak in favor. Anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Anybody here wishing to speak in opposition? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Recognize Councilor Armin Mercier. I think his motion brought this ordinance forward.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. In looking at this ordinance, I think it satisfies an awful lot of the requirements that I was looking for in order to provide good services to the people of Lowell who, in many instances, need the services of taxi cabs and liveries and weren't getting it to the level that I was happy with. But in reading this ordinance and recognizing the work that the police department did to bring this ordinance to where it's at, I'd like to move at this time that the ordinance be approved.
So moved by Councilor Armin Mercier, seconded by Councilor Rita Mercier. Any further discussion on the ordinance? Roll call.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez.
Yes.
Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield.
Yes.
Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott.
Yes.
Mayor Martin.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas, the ordinance is approved. The next public hearing is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, with respect to Chapter 13 thereof, entitled Motor Vehicles and Traffic. This is the second reading of this ordinance. We'll open the public hearing. This is the quarterly traffic ordinance. Anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the quarterly traffic ordinance? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition to the quarterly traffic ordinance? Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. What's the wish of the council?
Move approval.
Motion approved by Councilor Rita Mercier, second by Councilor Ramirez. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Councilor Armin Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Yes.
Councilor Milonazo.
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Broderick.
Yes.
Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Donahue.
Yes.
Councilor Elliott. Mayor Martin.
Yes.
9 yeas.
9 yeas. Before resuming with the city manager's portion of the agenda, there was a request to take Councilor Elliott's motion about the Riley School out of order. There are a few people registered to speak. Any objection to considering that item out of order? So we will move then to Councilor Elliott's motion. The City Council requests the city manager to investigate the conditions at the Riley School and report back to the City Council with recommendations. Seconded by Councilor Eileen Donahue. I believe there are some registered speakers, Mr. Clerk.
Valerie Clark.
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. I've recently had the privilege of being a volunteer at the Riley School last year, and in doing so, I had the opportunity to see the disrepair that this building is in which most parents would not see. My son, who had recently transferred into the school from a newer one, asked me why the building was falling apart, and why won't they fix it? I had no answer. So here I am, as a parent, representing all of the 500+ little faces of the school and their parents, to ask you why the Riley School is in such a tremendous need of maintenance and what you will do to help us to repair the building. It is our job as parents to see that our children are safe and are in the best environment possible. The Riley School building is in a deplorable state. It is not difficult to notice from the outside the condition of the windows. The caulking is coming off and some of the windows are boarded and broken. From the inside, the situation is much worse. The roof leaks. There are barrels posted in various spots to collect the rainwater. The ceiling tiles are stained, broken, and/or missing, and all that wetness has to be breeding mold. We're all aware of the EPA and their free information on understanding the indoor air quality issues, and we would like to make sure that the school is safe. Please, the state of the bathrooms throughout the school is totally unacceptable for our children, and I don't even want to go there. The state of this building is oppressive and surely hinders learning. Even the window shades are a disgusting color of brown and old and worn. The walls are dingy, dark, and in need of paint. I would not be able to dedicate myself to learning if I was in this depressive environment. Even though the school was built in 1959, there's no excuse for the horrendous state that it's in. We understand that the Riley is not due for reconstruction, nor do they have a new building in store for our local school in the Belvedere system. We want the best and the safest environment possible, again, for the sake of our children. If our young minds will attend the school next year, we would like to see an improvement in the conditions. We're aware that there are only 35 working days left until the school reopens again in August. But we, as the parents of the Riley School, would like to know what can be done and what would be done to improve the state of this building. I'd like to thank the City Council and those that have responded to my letter, and the PTO for helping circulate the awareness amongst other parents, and the school committee for their dedication to the cause, for helping to put in a new phone system there, and being aware of the other issues that are there. And I wanted to thank you for your kindness and your response. And I guess that's all I have to say, but I know that I can't speak for every parent, but if they were there and if they were volunteering in the situation I was in and walking around the halls and seeing the bathrooms and whatnot, this room would be full. So I ask you to consider a thorough investigation and to move quickly for our students' sake. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jackie Doherty.
Thank you. My name is Jackie Doherty. I live at 77 Tyler Park, and as you know, I'm a member of the school committee. With your indulgence, I would like to read a letter from my colleague, Vice Chair of the school committee, John Leahy, and then I'll just have a few brief comments of my own. Good evening, councilors, mayor, and city manager. Sorry that I could not be here tonight because I am away on vacation with my family. I did want to speak tonight about school maintenance on behalf of the Riley School. As you know, there are some major issues with this building. The roof is in disrepair, the windows need to be replaced, and the boilers most likely will not make it through another heating season. Aside from these major issues, there are other problems that should be addressed this summer. Plumbing throughout the building, sinks, toilets, and water bubblers. Repair wooden handicap ramps inside the school. Replace baseboard molding in the 100 wing. Replace ceiling tiles damaged from leaks in the roof. Classroom heaters need new switches so they can be turned on and off properly. Painting inside and outside throughout the school, especially bathrooms, cafeteria, ceilings, and hallways. I know this is a long list of concerns, and there are other issues at other school buildings, such as the Butler, Moody, Washington, and Varnum. My oldest daughter has attended the Riley School for the past 5 years, and my youngest will be there for another 3 years. I have witnessed the staff maintain the building to the best of their abilities, but it will soon reach a critical state of disrepair if these bigger issues are not addressed. Thank you for listening to our concerns tonight, and I hope that this summer we can create a plan that will address and resolve these issues in a timely manner. Respectfully, John Leahy, Vice Chair of the School Committee, Facilities Chairperson, and concerned parent. And if I might just add on a personal note for myself, I've been a member of the Facilities Subcommittee for 3 years, and we've been struggling with how to work with the city better at maintaining our school buildings. Some, as you know, buildings that were built new in the 90s, but still need maintenance and care. And I remember at last year's budget meeting, Mr. Walsh, when he spoke before the council, he mentioned that the Riley needed a new roof. This was last year. And that I looked in the budget, there was no money at that time for the new roof. And this year, at the city budget hearing, Mr. Wolf mentioned several capital needs with regard to our buildings in the city. And the first one on his list was a new roof at the Bartlett School. So I'm aware the city has capital needs at many of your buildings. It's not just about the schools. But many of our schools, where our children reside during the day, they have to be maintained. It's a health and safety issue. And I look forward, as a member of the Facilities Subcommittee, of working closely with the city to develop our priority needs list so that we can, hopefully start with these Riley needs right away. And the word I got today from the school department is they've already begun work on the roof at the Riley School. But that as we go forward, that we can work more closely together to develop a capital plan that makes sense for the city, but also makes sense for our buildings. Because if you think about your homes, if you needed a roof in your home, you'd get a roof, right? Because you wouldn't want to lose the asset of your home. And I think we need to look at the city buildings and our school buildings from the same perspective, that some of this stuff absolutely has to be done sooner rather than later. So I appreciate your time tonight, and again, I look forward to working to develop a maintenance plan for all our buildings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Doherty. Mr. Manager, do you have?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just provide a little bit of information on what I've learned of this already. Councilor Elliott had passed on the letter that Mrs. Clark had sent on to him, and you'll be receiving a letter, I believe, from me. Probably went out earlier this week. You should be receiving it the next day or so. We're certainly aware of, or I've become aware of the situation at the Riley School. With regards to the roof, we've already spent more than 220 hours doing repairs out there, and but it really cries out for that building will need a new roof. Really, that's the logical thing to do. That, of course, requires a whole bidding process, a design bidding process, and it isn't something really that can be done during the school year, so we'd have to probably look at doing that next year if we're able to work that in. But it also calls out for the whole issue of the need for a capital plan, and that's something that's being worked on right now by CFO Moses and Assistant Manager McCarthy, as well as the other staff people. We hope to have that in place that we can present to the council later this calendar year, probably sometime in the fall. The city has a number of capital needs with regards to its buildings, its infrastructure, and it's going to be quite an ambitious undertaking for the city, but certainly one that needs to be done. I think school committee person Doherty really hit the nail on the head that we have to protect these assets, and there's literally hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets in the city that need to be maintained, and the Riley is certainly one of those. With regards to some of the other conditions there, we do go around, like as in all the schools, and check and maintain the ceiling tiles 4 times a year, but clearly it's a very difficult task given the roof condition. So that really is the first thing that needs to be done, as do the looking at the windows. We did do an overhaul of some of the bathrooms in the last few years out at the Riley School. We do check those on a regular basis with the Board of Health or the Health Department. So we are moving forward. With regards to the shades, we have passed that along to the school department. That's a school department expense, and I anticipate that. Well, I would hope that the school department will come forward and install new shades there this year for the school. But there will be a full report being made to the school, to the city council on this motion, and we're anxious to get going and do as much work on that this summer as we can. There is a backlog of work throughout all the schools and all of the public facilities that we have, but we will be working on that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the speakers really summed it up. I also would like to acknowledge that all of us did receive a letter from another parent, concerned parent, Eric McMahon, reiterating essentially items stated by Mr. Leahy and Valerie Clark. But I think the manager has, understands the problem. It is an older school. But the environment clearly can be better and should be better for the young students that have gone there. We've all been in there. Even though the building is aging, it doesn't mean that we can't and we shouldn't stay on top of, maintenance issues of, simple things like ceiling tiles or shades. The bathrooms do need some serious attention. And unfortunately, this is not the only school. So I think a maintenance plan is necessary. A capital improvement plan is necessary so we can start planning. We built 14, 15 new schools, which is great. In the meantime, we haven't given enough or been able to give enough attention to some of these schools. So I'm not going to. I think the point has been made. I think we know what has to be done. Clearly, it's an issue of money. We have to plan for it. But in the meantime, we can take some steps, to improve the conditions at the Riley School. And I guess I was a little taken aback to learn there's only 35 more days till the kids go back to school. I don't know if that's a good thing or if it's a bad thing, but I guess we do have to get on top of it and get moving, and it's good to hear that we are doing that. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, I imagine you're going to take a cost analysis of everything that has to be addressed in the school, and also it's just a shot in the dark. If there's any SBA funding out there, school building assistance funding, it's just a shot. We should take a look at it to see if there's any funding. I knew the roof had to be addressed, but in all our meetings with the superintendent of schools, on the Butler School and on the Varnum School, the Morey School, the Riley School was never, ever discussed. And I would like to know how long the school department has known about this issue at the Riley School. I received the letters and I received a letter from Evan McMahon as well, and Councilor Elliott filed a motion, but that was never, ever addressed. Never.
Councilor Donahue.
Thank you. Well, first, we better not scare the little kids. I think it's 35 working days so that they're not running screaming from the room. As chair of the school building subcommittee, my recollection is 2 years ago, while we were talking about the Butler and the the Sapasaris potential in the Morey School, we did receive a report from Jay Lang about the roof situation, not just at the Riley, but there are a few other schools across the city that are in need of roofs. That was addressed. It was not in a capital plan. There was talk about whether or not there would be any state money through the school building assistance. There wasn't at the time. There doesn't seem to be any, especially under the new program, any opportunity for that money. But that was 2 years ago when we first started dealing with that. And we did receive an outline from Mr. Lang as far as the other capital needs across the city. So I would expect your report will address those needs in terms of a capital plan. And there's also other needs, and I guess you will look at that, whether there's maintenance and upkeep in the HVACs and so forth, and in some of the new schools that we really don't have a plan in terms of upkeep for what are valuable assets. But I agree with the speakers tonight. In terms of the Riley School, it is in a sad state of affairs, and whatever the city can do over the summer, I'm sure will be greatly appreciated by all of the children and parents.
Thank you. Councilor Broderick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank the parents for coming forward and giving us this information. I didn't realize the state of the school, the Riley School. There have been reports of the need for a roof at the Riley and the Bartlett as well. And Mr. Manager, obviously, we'd encourage you to do as much as we can with what we have. But also, I look forward to your report in terms of the capital expenditures and a plan to make the necessary repairs in some type of priority order. But I think it's very encouraging, school committee person Doherty offering to work with the administration to try to prioritize the school side. Obviously, that has to be woven into the overall city in terms of the budget and the expenditures. But I think it's important that we get a better sense maybe from the school side of what their needs are, what the current status is of their buildings, and try and bring it into the big picture in terms of what are our needs and how we're gonna afford this in the future. But I look forward to your report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too want to thank the parents for bringing this issue forward. I did receive a letter from Erin McMahon, and I'm happy that Councilor Elliott put it on the agenda for a report from the city manager's office. I think it probably makes some sense, since we do have only 35 working days left, to try to come up with some improvements, and I'm happy to hear the roof is being looked at now, that it probably makes some sense to have your report go directly to the joint subcommittee of both the city council and the school committee, the subcommittee that worked so diligently over the last few months on the issue of the Sapasaris School and the Morey School. So again, I don't know if the maker of the motion would object to that, but I think that, and obviously have it come back to the full council, but have it be referred to the joint committee so we can get some action on it right away.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, as well as my colleagues, received a letter from Erin McMahon. I don't know if you received it, Mr. Manager, but I'm going to give you a copy of it because there is a need there that concerns me mostly. I know that roofs leaking creates water, water creates mold. Mold is not an acceptable environment for the children to be taught in, but the fact that I feel, as Erin does, is the safety of the children while they're in school, and the doors should be secure, and they're not. That's troubling to hear that both doors are not secure, and so I'm going to give you this, and let's check that out probably tomorrow if we could. You know that with this day and age, you don't want someone just wandering in because the door isn't right. I know that on television one night, I guess they sent this undercover reporter into the schools, and he was able to walk into a particular, the Moody School on Rogers Street, and that was troubling to me to know that a stranger could have access and just get in. I don't want that to happen in any of the schools, but I'll be glad to give you this letter. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to join my councilors in supporting this. I also want to note, and I think it's important to note, that Rich Sarmento, who's charged with the maintenance duties over there, does an incredible job despite all the problems with the school. And I think that I've received a letter from him, and I know he's eager to speak to the manager or anybody about pointing out some of the more deplorable stuff and working to improve everything. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Thank you for attending the meeting this evening. We'll resume with the city manager's portion of the agenda. The next item is a vote declaring certain City of Lowell property, one police department horse surplus, and authorizing disposal of the same. Whereas the City of Lowell Police Department is the owner of one horse, and whereas the horse is too expensive to maintain and board, whereas there is no present need or use for municipal purposes of the horse owned by the city, whereas the city desires to dispose of the horse for the sum of $50 pursuant to a publicly advertised bid. Now therefore be it voted that the City Council of the City of Lowell hereby declares certain Lowell property one police horse surplus, and hereby authorizes the disposal of said horse by way of public bid to Officer Kieran Berube. Be it further voted that the city manager is authorized to execute any and all documentation required for such transfer. Second reading by title, a vote declaring certain City of Lowell property one police department horse surplus and authorizing the disposal of the same. Any discussion? Motion approved by Councilor Armin Mercia, second by Councilor Milanazzo. Councilor Milanazzo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I plan to support the vote, but I did have a question relative to a minimum bid requirement. Again, the bottom line is I'm happy that the horse is going to Officer Berube, but I'm a little surprised that in this case there wasn't a minimum bid, because I know a lot of times through the purchasing department we do require that, and I just was wondering why we didn't in this case.
Isn't it $1?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, again,
The solicitor may be more of a liability than an asset.
Oh, okay.
It was done through the purchasing office. In this particular case, the chief procurement officer tried to get a value attached to the horse. What he got back was some varied results, in part because boarding the horse is so expensive. It runs about $850 per month. So he, which is allowable under our rules, he didn't set a minimum bid where there was some evidence that the horse would be less than, I think, $100 in value.
Okay.
And then it was publicly advertised in the Lowell Sun. The only bid that we got back was from the officer, and it was in the amount of $50.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me just tell you how much I love animals, and if you work with them day after day, you become so attached to them. So I'm so thrilled there was only that bid. Other than Judge Anthus, I thought he may have placed a bid, but then if he won it, he would have gave it to Karen anyway. So I'm just so glad that this is a happy ending, and I'm glad that it went to bid, because to give something away, this is not our property to give away, it's the taxpayers, so to put it out to bid was only the fair thing to do. When you stop and think of how much it's going to cost to feed the horse, board the horse, and all that, but there's no amount of money that you could place on an animal that you love so much because you work with it day after day. It's a horse to probably everybody else, but to her it became more of a friend, and it's a happy ending, and I'm thrilled about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor, you're not referring to us, right, when you said it's a pleasure to work with animals day after day?
Oh, no.
All right.
Where's Lamont?
Roll call.
Councilor Armin Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Rita Mercia?
Yes.
Councilor Milanazzo?
Yes.
Councilor Ramirez?
Yes.
Councilor Broderick?
Yes.
Councilor
Yes.
Caulfield? Councilor Donahue? Yes. Councilor Elliott?
Yes.
Mayor Martin?
Yes.
9 yeas and not nays.
All right. Good for you, Rick.
All right. 9 yeas, the vote is approved. The The next item is a loan order to borrow $5,500,000 for purpose of financing the cost of a sewer system line cleaning and pipe assessment, targeted replacement and rehabilitation of inadequate sewer lines to reduce extraneous flows into the sewer collection system and wastewater treatment plant, and to improve the capacity and integrity of the sewer collection system. Motion to waive the full reading, first full reading by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The first full reading is waived. This matter is to be referred to a public hearing on August 14th. So moved by Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Milonazo. All those in favor of referring this matter to a public hearing August 14th say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to a public hearing on August 14th. Next item is an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, with respect to Appendix A thereof, entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinance, by amending various sections. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Lowell as follows: that the Code of Ordinances, City of Lowell, Massachusetts, hereinafter called the Code, adopted by the City Council on April 26, 1988, as amended, is hereby further amended with respect to Appendix A thereof, entitled Lowell Zoning Ordinance, adopted December 7, 2004, as amended as follows. See Attachment A, next tier 2, and made part hereof for specific changes. Number 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage in accordance with Section 1.7 of the Lowell zoning ordinance and the provisions of Chapter 43 and Chapter 40A of the General Laws of Massachusetts. This matter is to be referred to the Planning Board. Motion for report and recommendation. So moved by Councilor Broderick, second by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor of referring this to the Planning Board for report and recommendation say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to the Planning Board. That brings us to subcommittee reports. Are there any subcommittee reports? Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two subcommittee reports. The first one is on the environmental subcommittee that met this evening, sort of a continuation of a meeting that took place a month ago, just to get an update as to where we are with energy conservation measures and joining the Energy Conservation Challenge, which we have. The Division of Planning and Development, Adam Bakey and his staff are working on beginning benchmarking practices, which is essentially gathering the data on energy use from natural gas to gasoline to electricity, to get that information to put together for EPA's intern that will put it into a model and produce a report for the city. Once we have that information, then additional steps will be taken, whether it's recommendations for insulation or other energy conservation measures. That was an update. The second was to hear from UMass Lowell representatives or individuals that have been involved in a green building advisory committee that produced the green building report. They are going to come back to the committee within probably 6 to 8 weeks, depending upon when they're going to meet amongst themselves and come up with a strategy for green building commission, whether it's advisory or not. So it's just really just a report of progress, and we'll come back to the council at a later date with more concrete recommendations and suggestions for how to improve energy use, consumption, and conservation, as well as green building advisory committee. That's a report, just a report of progress.
I'm sorry. Any further discussion on that report? Motion to approve the report as a report of progress by Councilor Milonazo, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Councilor Elliott.
Second meeting was a meeting of the flood subcommittee, which again was a follow-up for a meeting that took place on May 22nd. It was a very productive meeting. Representatives from CDM, the city manager, Mr. McCarthy, Mark Young, representatives from PCC, and many residents from the Clay Pit Brook area, which is right around the Brunswick, Shirley, Malden, etc., Lexington area of Pawtucketville. The CDM and the city manager, Mr. McCarthy, gave a presentation on various alternatives, various options that are being considered, or at least being mulled, to try to address the flooding situation in that particular area. It was televised, so I won't go through the entire subcommittee, but essentially the options that are being discussed include putting up a 1.5-mile levee. Potentially, another consideration is dredging the Clay Pit Brook. Another idea that was being discussed is reducing the level of the dam, the Pawtuckaville Dam. And one last option, and while it's an option, just relocating people in that particular area. There's about 75 homes that are affected in that neighborhood. Most of the discussion focused on communicating with the Army Corps of Engineer. We have made a request, the city has made a request to have them, while they're here studying the Beaver Brook area, to look at Clay Pit Brook and how we can come up with some solutions to prevent flooding. So we will meet in a month's time again and hopefully get an update. Council Caulfield made a motion to have the city manager be in touch with Senator Kerry and Senator Kennedy's office. We did receive correspondence from both offices, letting them know that they did receive letters received from the city as well as constituents, that they're aware of it, and if they need our assistance, to contact them. So we are going to contact them, particularly in order to try to get support from the Army Corps of Engineer, which have essentially jurisdiction, not only doing an evaluation and a study of wetlands and any changes or modifications that could be made, but we also learned they also have control of the dams up in the New Hampshire area that are used for flood control. And a number of residents spoke to the fact that this last flood, the river came up at such a rate that they felt that something must have been done up in New Hampshire, up in the upper part of the Merrimack River. So the manager is going to look into that as well and see if we can get some idea if that did take place and what notification should have, if any, should have been done to the city. So that's a report of progress, and we will meet again. Again, it's very important to get the Army Corps of Engineer engaged. CDM has done some, Camp Jeshua McGee, the engineers for the wastewater treatment plant CSO project, has done an evaluation and provided some input. So I don't know if the manager or Mr. McCarthy or members from the subcommittee want to add, but that's sort of a recap of the meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anything further on the subcommittee report? Motion to accept the report as a report of progress by Councilor Armin Mercier, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The report is accepted. Any further subcommittee reports? Okay. Under petitions, there were 2 petitions that were timely filed but are not listed on the agenda. There were copies, I believe, on everybody's desk. The first of these is by Darlene Hannigan, 39 Dayton Street, a claim for property damage. I believe Ms. Hannigan is here. Did you want to be heard, or do you want to let your letter speak for itself? We're happy to hear from you if you want to speak. If you don't, that's okay too.
Thank you very much. Last Thursday night, I had a devastating, we had that rain, but my understanding with Mr. Cohen, who came out from the water department, it didn't have a lot to do with it, but there was a backup, a complete blockage at the top of our road. And unfortunately, my home suffered devastating, my basement was completely ruined. I had over 6 inches of sewage in my entire basement. It was disgusting. I've had people there working to clean and whatever they've been doing for the last 5 days. They've basically, there's pictures, they've had to gut my entire basement. Unfortunately, I am self-employed. I work out of my home, and my office is uninhabitable. My daughter has had to move out because her bedroom was down there, and as you can see from the pictures, there's basically nothing left there. I haven't got the complete, they gave me an estimate on just this cleanup, which I haven't got the actual bill yet, but it's between $7,000 and $10,000 just to clean this up. I mean, it was just everywhere. It came in the shower stall, bubbling 6 inches high, and just for 15 minutes just covered the entire basement. And I really don't feel it was any fault of my own. I've never had a problem, as long as we've lived in this home for the past 12 years, with any type of water or sewage. Like I said, when the man did come out, he said it was a complete blockage at the top of the street, and it was just a matter of time before it did happen. So unfortunately, I do have homeowners insurance, and it does not cover this because I didn't have the required rider for storage and water backup. So my insurance will not cover this. So I'm looking for reimbursement of this. It's going to be quite expensive to put this back together. And
Okay, thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I received a call from Ms. Hannigan last week, and I explained to her what the process was. And in reading her report, it indicates that towels were blocking the sewer line in the street below the access line and caused this problem. So, Mr. Manager, I furnish you with all the information and the pictures. I'd like to refer this to the law department to see if we can help this constituent, something that no one would want to live through. And it was just a problem in the sewer line, and she paid the price for it. So, thank you.
Motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation by Councilor Caulfield, second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Broderick, did you want to have anything to add? Any further discussion on this? So, Ms. Hannigan, the way it works is the claim gets filed, the Law Department investigates it, and someone will be back in contact with you. Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. The next petition, also one that was not listed, is from Speedy Suds Laundry, 5557 Wamasett Street, request a drop-off zone. I don't believe anybody's here on that petition. Motion to refer this matter to the traffic engineer by Councilor Ramirez, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to the traffic engineer. The next petition is from the Lowell 5-cent Savings Bank requesting an overhanging sign at 97 University Ave. I don't believe anyone's here on that petition either. Motion to refer to the Law Department for report and recommendation by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Ramirez. That matter will be referred to the Law Department for report and recommendation. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is so referred to the Law Department. And the last petition on the agenda is from Americraft Carton requesting a handicap parking sign at 164 Meadowcroft Street. Councilor Rita Mercia also has a motion on this topic. Any objection to considering that motion at this time? So read the motion by Councilor Rita Mercia. City Council requests City Manager have the proper vote drawn for a 60-day trial. Handicap parking spot at 164 Meadowcroft Street. Second by Councilor Milanazzo. Councilor Rita Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did receive a call from the person that works for Americraft to see if she could get a handicap parking sign in front of the building where she works. And because she's not the owner of the building or a resident there, it would have to be the person that is responsible for that particular building. So I gave her my advice, but then I told her I'd get back to her because I'm not an authority on buildings like this. If this were a regular residential home, so I called the city clerk's office. He did, in fact, tell me that a letter would be better if it came from the people that were responsible for that building, which you can see that it did. But I did make the motion for a 60-day trial so we could put it there as soon as possible, because I know that sometimes we do the quarterly report, and I don't want to wait another 3 months or whatever. So that's in essence what I did, and the motion speaks for itself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. And on the petition, motion to refer that matter to the traffic engineer by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Ramirez. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The matter is referred to the traffic engineer. Under the motions, the next motion by Councilor Elliott, the City Council requests the City Manager develop regulations for political signs and bring forward for review in the Zoning Subcommittee. Second by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this has been discussed in Zoning Subcommittee before, and we've received opinion from an attorney, Mark Babowski, concerning the regulations of political signs. But the motion really speaks for itself. It just doesn't make any comments. There's no common sense in not having any regulations at all for political signs. I'm not opposed to them, but I think candidates want to know. I know people, when I went into the election office many years ago, I wanted to know what the regulations were. When can you put them up? When they have to be taken down? At that time, there were size regulations, and when we did revamp and revise the new zoning code, there was a concern, and I believe there's been challenges to to political signs and the regulation, particularly for time frame, but it just doesn't make any sense to me that signs can go up at any point in time and they can stay up for essentially 30 days. I think is what case law says, and then they have to come down for 5 days, and then they can go back up for 30 more days, and then after 30 days come down for 5 more days. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know what other communities do, but it seems that signs go up, and then after a certain period of time, they come down. Now, I don't know if it hasn't been challenged, but I just thought we're going into, a very busy election season, and I would like to know, and I think those that are running would like to know. Am I trying to restrict freedom of speech or the First Amendment? Absolutely not. So that's the motion, and I think we should put something in place, whatever is legal, whatever is reasonable, but some regulations need to be put in place. I know we have regulations for signage downtown and businesses and and other items. So I just thought this was, and maybe the word, we can't regulate political signs. I think that's what I have read, but we can regulate temporary signs, and they clearly are temporary signs. So that's the gist of the motion, and thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe there is regulations in place. Everyone knows you can't install a sign on a telephone pole, electric light pole, on government property, etc. They're supposed to be a certain size, etc. So there is a regulation in place, but who follows it? I don't know. And it's been going that way for 20 years, Mr. Manager. So,
Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Many years ago, when we would pull papers to run for city council, along with that, we would get a piece of paper that told us what the rules were in regards to political signs. And I completely remember that we could put them in storefront windows, but we couldn't put them up in yards until 15 days before the September primary. However, at that time, we said 15 days before a primary would take us like on a Monday morning. Everybody has to go back on the Monday, so we came back before the city council through a motion, probably was yours, Rodney, I don't know if it were yours or not, and we asked if it could be 17 days, so we could get the weekend before to put up our signs the weekend before instead of that Monday. I specifically remember that, and it then told us that we had to take the signs down between 5 or 10 days after the election was over, something to that effect, and we would be fined or whatever. Having said that, I kind of believe that was a good thing. You don't want to see, I'm thrilled someone would let me put their sign in their yard, but to leave it up there all year long and put Christmas lights around it, that'd be kind of bizarre. But all it took was a person to go to court and complain about it, and the courts ruled that it was unconstitutional, similar to probably the Lord's Prayer, that it was illegal to control people's freedom of expression, freedom of speech. However, it didn't apply to a yard sale sign by which the Sun, you can put an ad in the newspaper, and if you put your ad in the newspaper, they give you a sign, a yard sale sign, to put on a telephone pole. Oh my gosh, but they do. You can put that in your article. You can find out, I don't know, what are they supposed to do? Put it on their house? I don't know, but that's in essence what actually happens. It's true. They're violating the law. We should fine the Sun, but be that as it may, I'm thinking that if you have lose weight or hire a college painter, you can't have these on public utility poles or whatever. So, in essence, there are restrictions to other type of language, but political signs, I guess you can dispute that, and you can have them up all year long if you want. I just hope people don't do it. But, I mean, I kind of understand where Councilor Elliott is going with this, but I think we don't have a leg to stand on in court. I don't know. Good try, though. We'll try it again.
Thank you. Councilor Armin Mercier?
I personally think it's a good motion because the whole issue is very complicated. There are people who think they can put them up anytime because there's nothing in our zoning ordinance that covers the regulations or rules. Some other people think that you have to wait 15 days before a particular election. We know we can't put it on public buildings, and we know we can't put it on telephone poles, but it's still very left up in the air. So I think this motion is a good motion. Let's spell out exactly what people are able to do and what, more importantly, they're not able to do. And I always believed in the edict when you're talking about the courts is, you know, you don't ask permission, you seek forgiveness. So if we had some regulations to go by and the city could draft them up, put them in the form of an ordinance, then everybody would be playing the same level playing field. So I think it's a good motion, and I think that we hopefully can get some regulations developed that takes the cobwebs out of what I believe right now are no regulations.
Okay, any further discussion? I think the way it is now, there are regulations about temporary signs. People are looking for regulations about political signs and may not realize those apply to these, and maybe those need to be improved.
Right.
Any further discussion on this, Councilor Elliott? Did you?
No, I think that's it. That's the essence of it. You know, we are going through a season, and people want to know, and we're not trying to, just level the playing field so we know what we're doing, and people know what they're doing, and we're not violating the law. And so I think there's still time for us to put something in place, even if it's what's the language that's in it? Content neutral is I guess the language that we use in the ordinance. So I guess if we can come back with something, Mr. Manager, I appreciate it, because I think every other town does have something.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved. The next motion by Councilor Rita Mercier, City Council request the city revisit and retool the minimum standards ordinance, and that the issue be referred to the Neighborhood Subcommittee for report and recommendation. Second by Councilor Caulfield. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The ordinance entitled Minimum Exterior Standards for Structure, in my view, should be looked at, upgraded, and revised to add more teeth to the meaning of maintaining private property. And if nowhere in the audience, and as I have asked the city clerk to provide each of you with a copy of that ordinance, nowhere does it address overgrowth of vegetation in terms of grass that hasn't seen a lawnmower all spring and summer and has left yards to appear to be deserted and abandoned. This is a detriment to the neighborhood, as I found out by a phone call in this regards. This ordinance does not address this issue. Therefore, any case in court pertaining to this scenario gets thrown out of court. Let's not waste the time of our employees in the health department with an ordinance with no teeth. So I would like to refer this motion to a neighborhood subcommittee and invite Frank Singleton, because there are other areas of concern regarding rental units as well. This whole ordinance needs to be revamped, and I thank you for allowing me to present it.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Councilor Rita Mercier. City Council requests the city manager have the traffic engineer explore the possibility of placing audible signal at crosswalks on Middlesex Street and Central Street. Second by Councilor Ramirez. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had an occasion to be in a restaurant on Central Street, and a young lady that was blind with her dog heard my voice and asked me if I could make a motion. So she pays attention, because I didn't know that she knew my voice, but she did, and she said that it would be a good area to have one of those signals because we have to make it safe for our people that are visually impaired, and that was her concern, and she looked into it as well, and she said that it would cost about $2,000. So I know we transferred a heck of a lot of money tonight. I think maybe there might be $2,000 in there somewhere for the next end of the year's budget, so that we can look at it right now and try to find it. I think that would be good for people, because you have the Lowell Association for the Blind on Central Street. There are key areas there that, you know.
Thank you, Counselor.
That would
Any
be
further
good.
discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Counselor Caulfield. The City Council requests the city manager provide funding to demolish the building at 155 Westford Street. Second by Counselor Rita Mercier. Counselor Caulfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, you know the building I'm talking about, and I've had quite a few complaints, not only from the people who reside in that neighborhood, but people who live in the city, and we just can't let that building stay there. And I'd be fearful that the residents who live within eye distance of that would put in for an abatement, and rightfully so, because their property is certainly has gone down in value. So I'm not asking you personally to fund it, but if you can look into your contingency account or another budget line item to address that issue. And the home next door to that building was severely damaged as well. So the residents in that neighborhood will be extremely happy and pleased if we do something with it.
Thank you, Counselor. Mr. Manager, did you have a comment?
Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment on that. I am familiar with the property, and we have 3 properties, in fact, right now that we've identified for demolition, and we are right now working on a strategy of finding the funds to move forward with that. Unfortunately, at this point, all we've identified is about $10,000, so we have to go through and see if we can come up with some additional money, but we are working on that, Councilor.
And naturally, if we have to pay for the demolition, the law department would certainly put a lien on the property. And
that's
right.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion is by Counselor Caulfield. Request the mayor and the city council properly acknowledge the Lowell High School cheerleaders for their first place finish in their division in the World Spirit Federation National Competition. Second by Counselor Ramirez. Counselor Caulfield.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was notified by one of the parents that the cheerleaders won first place in the World Spirit Federation National Competition. And I think we should rightfully recognize them for their feat, and we would do it for any other sport, and I know how hard they work at this competition. So I'd be looking forward for that evening when we can applaud them for their efforts.
Certainly schedule that, Counselor. It may make sense to wait until the fall when they're back in school, but we'll make the appropriate outreach and find a suitable date and have them down for proper recognition. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. The next motion by Counselor Milanazzo. City Council requests the city manager report on the number of new jobs and retained jobs in the city in the last 12 months. Second by Councilor Broderick. Councilor Milanazzo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report would be from an economic development point of view, obviously. When you read about Cross Point being up for sale again, their cash flows, obviously, in my opinion, must be very strong. If you look at Waterlancet, we just relocated Alpha Industries from Waterlancet over to Western Avenue based upon the fact that Waterlancet is, I believe, pretty close to 100% occupied with some new businesses. So I think it would be important for this council and certainly the Economic Development Subcommittee to know what types of jobs have come into the city and what type of jobs like those at Alpha Industries have been retained. So if you could put that together, that would be terrific. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. Next motion by Councilor Armin Mercier. City Council requests the city manager have the proper department repaint the crosswalks on Mammoth Road in front of St. Rita's Church. Second by Councilor Rita Mercier. Councilor Armin Mercier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Although that's self-explanatory, there's a reason for the increased pedestrian flow to St. Rita's Church. As you know, St. Jean d'Arc Church was closed by the Archdiocese, and although an appeal is pending, there are an awful lot of parishioners that has adopted St. Rita's, and that's created a lot of pedestrian traffic that crosses from one side of Mammoth Road to the other. I'm looking to see if we could repaint the crosswalk in front of St. Rita's Church. But in a related matter, I'm under the impression, in fact, someone from the parish indicated to me that if we could provide the church with a cone, you know, the state law cone, they would take the responsibility of putting it out in the morning and take it out at night. So I don't know how we go about that, but if you would look into that as well as a repainting, I think it'd be appreciated by all of the parishioners of St. Rita's.
Okay. Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion is approved. I believe that concludes the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, just
Councilor
before
Caulfield.
we adjourn, I brought this forward to Manager Lynch prior to the meeting, and many neighborhoods in our city, whether it be Lower Centerville, Back Central Street, Lower Highlands, the streets are extremely narrow, and to park a car on the street, sometimes it makes it impassable. Some residents called me who reside at Manigan Street, and that's a street off Grove Street. It runs into Branch Street. I measured the street at 17 feet wide. So everyone on that street received a ticket for parking on the sidewalk. And I'm an advocate of anyone who parks on the sidewalk on a main thoroughfare. They should be penalized because sometimes they're impeding handicapped people and so forth. But on Manigan Street, on Friday night, everyone had their car on the street. Saturday morning, nothing could go down the street. That means an ambulance, a fire truck, and BFI could not pick up their trash. Everyone had to be notified that they had to move their car. So all I'm saying is use some discretion on some of these tightly woven neighborhoods, especially Back Central Street, Lower Centerville, and the Lower Highlands. If an ambulance or a fire truck couldn't get down that street, God forbid that there was an emergency, it would have been, you know, in a situation we would want to deal with. So, thank you. I just brought that forward.
Thank you, Councilor. Motion to adjourn by Councilor Milanazzo, second by Councilor Broderick. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The meeting stands adjourned.
Great, thank you. That's fine, yeah. Thank you, Eileen.